Hey y'all, welcome back to the party. It is me, your girl, BrittReacts, and today we're going to react to Charlie Kirk breaking down his viral interview with Gavin Newsom. If you know, then you know. Let's see what they have to say. Or really, let's see what Charlie has to say.
So this is kind of how it all started. Gavin said that, Governor Newsom said that his son is a big fan of the Charlie Kirk show and that he really wanted to come to the studio. And I responded off the cuff and rather sharply.
Oh.
And I'll tell you, when you have conversations like this, you see, Governor Newsom was being overly effusive in his praise towards me. So you have to kind of meet the interviewer at his frequency. Remember, I'm a guest on his show. So here's a guy who I believe has done incredible damage to the most beautiful state in the country, that I believe has done just unspeakable harm to the great people of California. So here he is kind of throwing on the praise. It's a difficult thing because you don't want all of a sudden look as if you're just coming out like super aggro.
Okay.
At the same time, you must challenge. So I tried to get in a couple little one-liners here or there. Listen carefully, play cut 174.
Oh, they
last night trying to put my son to bed. He's like, no, Dad, what time? What time's Charlie gonna be here? What time? And I'm like, dude, you're in school tomorrow. He's 13. He's like, no. This morning, wakes up at 6 something. He's like, I'm coming. I'm like, he literally would not leave the house.
Did you let him take off school?
No, he did. Of course not. He's not here for a good reason. But the point is
you canceled school for like 2 years. One day.
The point is the
That's
point,
funny.
Which is you are making a damn dent.
Thank you. I'm kidding.
He canceled school.
Okay, I can look at that and feel like it does feel a little like awkward. Something's awkward. Like it does. It feels inauthentic and like he's trying to praise Charlie to like not have beef because he knows how Charlie really feels or something. You know how people do that? I don't know. That's interesting. And then like he leaves the room or Charlie leaves the room and he's like, thank God that's over kind of situation. Am I the only one that feels that way? It did feel that way. I could be totally wrong, but I think I'm a good character. Like I have a good kind of discernment. What do y'all think? Just off that little clip right there.
School for
Are making a damn dent.
Thank you.
You're
I'm
making a
kidding.
dent.
He canceled school for 2 years. Come on, I mean, you had the Zoom class for
That
2
felt
years.
like a
You
good joke.
shut down
It
all the
didn't feel
California schools. All
snarky.
kidding aside, it really just showed the power of this program. The power of all of you that subscribe to our show and keep the momentum going, that we are reaching the sons and daughters of the Democrat ruling class. And I just want to...
If this is true, it reminds me so much of Kellyanne, was it Conway's daughter, who was very anti her mother and anti her mother's stance on things. If it is true, it does kind of remind me of that. And with Gavin saying like we're reaching the Democrats' children, I mean, I think I can say this strongly that I as a parent, I want my children to make their own choices and come up with their own decisions. Obviously, I hope I guide and rear them in the right direction. That doesn't mean it's my direction. Who knows? I might go and die and find out everything I believed and stood for on this earth was a lie. And I can say that as a avid believer in Christ, but I'll go down in that sinking ship. But I want my children to form their own beliefs and their own like stance on things that mean that are right to them, right? Like I wouldn't want my child, because I'm the governor of California, I'm the Democratic governor of California, and I maybe have made all these decisions. I wouldn't want my child to feel obligated to agree or follow that. I want my child to look at me and say, that's right. And I want to stand behind that if that's what they felt. So I definitely understand Gavin Newsom saying what he said, but I don't know. Do you think he really feels this way towards Charlie? It is early on, and I'm already dissecting this
of
too much.
the
Sorry.
Democrat ruling class.
Not sorry.
And I just want to have the offer to Governor Newsom, both privately and publicly. We'd love to have your son come to one of our Turning Point USA events. We won't make a big deal out of it. We won't say, oh, this is Gavin Newsom's son. No. We just want him to be able to have a patriotic experience this summer. We have our Student Action Summit. We'd love to have him come to Tampa, Florida. He could bring a couple friends. I think it would be incredible to have Governor Newsom's there. Again, we wouldn't make a whole thing, a display out of it. He can make up his own mind. but it does show the impact of the virality of what we've been doing. And
Okay.
I wonder if that was one of the reasons why I was invited to be the first guest on Gavin Newsom's program. I was the first guest on the program, and I wonder if there was something to do with his son. And so, but we are reaching the next generation. We are reaching young people, and one of the pieces of tape that we will get into is how I explained how younger voters are the most suicidal, alcohol addicted, anxious, and quite honestly, suffering generation in modern American history, if not in American history. Let's play cut 175.
When you go to these college campuses, I love watching your TikTok, which is
Thank
next
you.
level. And clearly, that's expressed by my
Yeah, he's
13-year-old son.
I wanna meet
over-complimenting.
this
I
guy.
can't take it.
I actually
He's
am
coming
ha-
to a Turning Point event this summer, Tampa, Florida, Student Action Summit.
I actually am. By the way, if
You
you
should
did,
be concerned.
but actually, let me say here is why I'm concerned, because you have expressed that I should be concerned as a Democrat that we're getting
That's true. Okay.
clobbered.
Yes.
That you've figured something out.
It's
The
not
Demo-
me. The president first deserves the credit.
But why? No, hold on. You were at this before Trump was Trump.
I know, but
he was a Democrat back in 2011
Yeah, but
and 12.
the president deserves huge credit. And I just have to say that as an obligatory thing, because without him,
No, I
our
appreciate
movement would be small. And you can appreciate that in politics. You have to appreciate the person
Did
who is
he,
the catalyst.
for you, that's what you sort of attached an identity
It was also
with
just
him?
the catalyst. It was a cultural moment that just opened us up.
By the way, the media is covering this all live. It's big coverage about how Gavin Newsom is breaking with the Democrat Party. Daily Mail, Fox News, across the board. Here's going to be interesting for Gavin Newsom. Look, it's not worth our time whether or not the shift is legitimate or not. I don't
Right.
think it's legitimate.
Okay.
I think it's all just political opportunism.
Oh.
Will the Democrat Party put up with a candidate like Gavin Newsom who's trying to moderate his views? Will they allow somebody to say, nope, actually, no men and female sports? To try to help rebuild the image. And we went right in, by the way, on all the race stuff, Prop 16, legalized racial discrimination. I also challenged him on the most radical trans law in the country. And to be honest with you, we'll play this tape of when I challenge him on the most radical trans law. He's so slippery when it comes to the California stuff. He'll argue from authority, be like, no, that's not actually what the bill says. This. And I know he's wrong, but I don't have the bill handy. So you kind of get lost in the details there. But I'm still glad.
Sounds like politics. I am aware a lot because a lot of you comment about Gavin Newsom, and when he comes up, I am aware of the work he has done in California. That's the nice way to say it. The work he's done in California. I get the controversy. I get how ludicrous a lot of this stuff is and sounds and so on and so forth. And I understand I understand the magnitude of this kind of meeting in this interview. And again, I'm only reacting to this 22-minute clip. I'm not telling you I have all the information. I just want to preface that by saying, like, I am simply, for the first time ever, reacting to what I am listening to and watching right now. I think a lot of times people forget that. Like, people will try to nail me to a cross, and it's like, I only reacted to a moment in time. But I don't live in California. I have friends that live in California. Some of them love what's going on. Some of them are trying to run from what's going on. What is interesting to me is to think that Governor Gavin Newsom will go and do all of this stuff and then somehow pump the brakes and try to reverse it. Like, is he trying to hit us with the Uno reverse? Or, like, I agree. It's like, is this real? Something in him feels very phony just watching this interview. Again, that's just my spirit of discernment. That's not my, like, professional political opinion. But, like, I'm just a girl watching YouTube. I'm like, something is slippery and slimy and snaky about him. I mean, he's the hair is perfect. He's handsome as all get out. Like something's up. Something's not right here. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. And then, I've also read a lot of your comments about Charlie Kirk, and a lot of people have a lot of negative things to say about him. I think we are in the meeting of a far left and a far right. Can I say that? Is that right? Is that wrong? I from what you all have told me, and this is my second ever interaction with anything Charlie Kirk. And honestly, probably Gavin too. I mean, I read headlines, but I've not done a ton of research. It does feel like you have two representatives of the far sides. Let me know your thoughts.
I brought it up. You kind of get lost in the details there. But I'm still glad I brought it up. So this has been one of Gavin Newsom's most effective attack lines when he is on a show like Sean Hannity or when he goes up against Ron DeSantis. He says, you guys are book banners. So he brought that one right out of his back pocket and he decided to deploy it. And this is how I've always wanted Republicans to reply to the book banning issue. If I may say so myself, I thought I did very well on this. We actually did zero prep on this. We were prepping for all the different types of things that could be brought up. We did not bring up a book banning. This is how, if I was a Republican, this is how you should respond to this issue. Play cut 192.
How about the book ban stuff? On a serious note, 4,240 books or titles, libraries and schools were banned in 2023. Is that not, as a conservative?
Well, it depends. I mean, I think we can both agree pornography should not be taught to 9-year-olds.
Fair point.
Okay,
Fair.
so that's a book ban.
All right. Well, there were some other books.
Oh, no.
Bill O'Reilly's
that
book
was the
banned.
Moms for Liberty contention. Time out.
Yeah.
I agree on Bill O'Reilly. The Moms for Liberty movement that you made a big thing of was just no porn to 10-year-olds.
Yeah.
We agree. So those books should be banned.
Well, okay.
So what we should do right now is every California school that has porn in their library should be kicked out.
Does that
is
include
a
the
book ban.
Bible?
Well, I wouldn't say the Song of Solomon is porn.
No, but I mean, some have made that point. Is that a fair point, or is it offensive?
I don't think that's fair
and as
at
a man
all.
of faith, and I deeply admire that about you.
Thank you.
Sincerely.
Yes, but no, I mean,
It is overwhelming. The weirdo compliments. Like, stop. And y'all are going to ask me to go and react to this actual interview. I'm not doing this 2 hours long. Like, please. I have way too much going on to sit down and stress myself out for 2 hours. Like, no. That was such a reach. That's such a reach to say, well, the Bible, that's as good as it gets for you? That's your comeback? Lord, we are in the last days. Jesus, come get me. Rapture me up right now. Jesus, come get me.
that's fair
And as
at
a man
all.
of faith, and I deeply admire that about you.
Thank you.
Sincerely.
Yes, but
It's
no,
like
I mean,
he's like-
again, the Song of
It feels like
Solomon
an SNL
is
skit
rather
when
risque.
he
No,
talks.
it's
But what we're
very
talking
so
about
good.
in these books is not just the words, it's also the images. And again, your audience can look at the images themselves.
Okay, I get it.
It's highly graphic. But again, what
It
I
Really?
seems
In
a
the
banning
schools?
binge. I mean, at next level, sort of cancel culture.
But why do you think moms are doing that? Do you think it's because they want to have mind control, or do you
No,
think
I
that they
think-
have come across
I think there's-
incident of highly provocative
I
material?
love moms, but this moms, I mean, we don't have to get into Moms for Liberty. It
I mean, you
seems
brought up the book bans, though. I mean-
deeply organized for a larger agenda, but that's my humble opinion.
No, but let me just kind of complete the point. Is that it's easy to just call it kind of a book ban, but when you actually have to read some of these books, it will take your breath away of some of this stuff, right? You're like, okay, we're teaching a 10-year-old how to put a condom on.
I know. I just have a problem with, who the hell is going to decide that? Government? I mean, Ron DeSantis is going to decide what I can read or say in the boardroom, in the classroom?
This is the exercise of politics, though.
Yeah.
The exercise of politics is the highest form of community because it blends morality and sociability. So what we do is we have discussion and elections, and we have boards and commissions, right? And we as a people say, okay,
laughing.
no porn for 10-year-olds.
Yeah.
And that's politics, right? I mean,
I get it.
I'm not saying that
But
there's like some sort of...
We got to stress test whether the Bible's included in that. I don't even want to go forward anymore on this. No, it's tough, but this is this becomes a dialectic.
I
This
have
is
heard a lot.
throwing
I've
me
never
for a
heard.
loop.
That's interesting, though.
It's a provocative. I don't mean to offend.
fair,
Again,
but-
I deeply don't mean to offend. By the way,
If you
Father Cause would be offended
If
with
you
me.
think the Bible's
By the way-
pornographic,
No,
we have
but
a whole...
there's
Do I not like Gavin Newsom? I never had a problem with him until I started watching it. Something about this feels like literally like you're watching an SNL skit, like he's mocking. Okay. I'd be remiss to say take the Bible out the school library. And y'all know I I love the Lord. Like, I love Jesus. But like, I don't send my child to school to get her religious education. Take it out of the school. If you want to have that conversation, take the Bible out of the library. Fine, whatever. But why are we trying to justify any means that a 10-year-old should learn how to put on? Like, and that's what he's doing. He's like, there's no but here. There's no but here. And if you're telling me it's beyond words, but there's also photographs. Some of us need to do a body scan from brain to foot, because what are we talking about here? Why is this up for debate? Why is it in the children's library? I don't need to protect my 10-year-old from STDs. I will educate her exactly when the time is right, but I don't need to protect her from it. Not at 10. Not at 10. If my 10-year-old needs to know how to put on if I had a boy 10-year-old, I have a female 10-year-old, to be clear, she's not, okay. Anyway, we got way bigger fish to fry. This is my thing. We're just only allowing children to be exposed to things they shouldn't be exposed to too soon. And then we're having to have conversations we shouldn't have to have. Like, let them be 10. Let them think boys are gross and girls have germs. Or let them have like little playground kisses on the cheek and freak out about it. Do you know what I mean? Like, my daughter has a crush on a boy at the YMCA right now, and that's very age appropriate. I'd be damned if I'm teaching her how to put on it. Get me out of here. Get me out of here. Get me out of here.
Would be offended with me.
If you think the Bible's pornographic,
no,
we have
but
a whole...
there's a whole problem.
Most of these books are quote unquote not pornographic. There's sections that can affect
of images that are very violating to young kids.
Some we would agree on that.
But can I just say one other thing? But if you want to learn, Governor, and I'm happy that there is a movement of moms that's growing, where they feel as if our kids are being hypersexualized.
Exactly.
And I agree with them that they have to hear topics.
Social media.
Well, both in the social media and the classroom.
Particular.
Oh, so he's blaming social media.
So that's how you handle, in my opinion, the book banning issue. And look, Governor Newsom that said, I don't want to go any more forward on this, because it's very easy to say book ban, book ban, book ban when you frame it as what it is, which is a common sense just kicking out of pornography in our schools. And him mentioning the Bible is just so ridiculous.
It's wild.
The only reason I did not get indignant is that there are some portions of the Song of Solomon that are risque. I wouldn't say it's pornography, but the issue has always been visual images for 8, 9, and 10-year-olds that are so violating, not longer holy texts that may or may not be read to kids, which I think is just such an outrageous example for him to try to bring in there. But he was starting to lose and then comes back in. So, no, we don't want to talk about that anymore. Also, they call them book bans when it's just, why are we teaching this book? Why is this book in the library for 5th graders? That is not a ban. It is not a ban.
Okay, on the topic of this, we used to live in Central Florida. We lived there for just under 3 years. So my daughter was in the school system there for two school years. And it did, we were there during the whole, when everything started to happen around starting to remove the topic of slavery from school or books about slavery from school. I have not done enough research. We moved from Florida before I could really decide to give it any, real effort in research. But I would love to hear from you all. As you guys know, I don't identify as left or right. You guys are teaching me that perhaps the most I can identify is somewhere in the middle, but I don't even know if that, I don't know. I just, right is right and wrong is wrong. And I'm going to stand up for whatever side is doing that on each topic and platform, because I do believe sometimes I agree with the more conservative side, and some things I do believe I agree more on the liberal side. So my question to you is, for those of you that are educated on it and aware, where does that lie in the book ban? Because Charlie is saying it's not a book ban. They're just flagging these books and asking why we're teaching them to certain ages, not banning it. If that is the truth, then I'm totally on board with that as well. But the media loves to sensationalize things and take things out of context. So I'm asking you, as someone who doesn't fully understand where the books on slavery and, I'm losing what it was called. Race, y'all know what I'm talking about. They're trying to take it out of the schools. Critical race theory. And I'm genuinely asking from a humble, I'm not trying to be divisive or like, well, what about this? I genuinely want to know if you have information on it, or even if you have an opinion on either way, where that falls in the book banning. He's talking about Governor DeSantis down in Florida. Like I said, we lived in Florida. So all of this in some way related to us at one point in time. We're all the way up the East Coast now, and it's not in my daughter's homeschooled. So I teach her what I deem to be appropriate and necessary. So yeah, just let me know down below. As always, please kindly leave your comment.
It is not a ban. It's maybe a ban on pornography, which we can all agree with.
Yeah, like what?
So
ban that.
Another lengthy clip that I want to play. And now before I get into it, I knew the details dangerously enough on this topic. However, this is where Gavin Newsom is his most slippery and his most shifty and the most clever.
Shifty's a good word.
Anything to do with a detail in California, he will argue from authority, get hyper aggressive, talk over you, and say, you don't know, you're not from here. This is the most radical trans bill in the country, without a doubt. And I want to even get some of the text here and read it on screen. Blake, can you guys get it while we're
watching this?
Like leading up to this? Essentially, as it is written, a teacher cannot be fired if they do not tell parents that their kid is transitioning at school, is taking hormones at school, or is calling him or herself vice versa sex. There are other elements of this bill that I was not able to recall. I'll be perfectly honest with you, candidly, right there on the spot. I have a good memory, but it was just, there's so much kind of going on there. The question is, who has sovereignty over our kids? We never got really into that. But anything to do with California, Gavin Newsom will rise up. You don't understand. This is not what, he does this thing with the hands. Let me tell you what's really in the bill. That's not what it is. And I even doubled or tripled down on even the extreme example, because yes, I think a teacher should 100% be fired if the teacher does not tell a parent that their kid is transitioning. Of course I do. Even though that is the more radical.
Wait a minute. What? I think I misunderstood what he said at first. If a teacher is aware that a child is transitioning and a parent doesn't know, a teacher is not held responsible for not sharing that information with a parent. However, but if my child falls off a slide and scrapes their knee, you have to write down a report and I have to know about that? Whoa. I thought that, and correct me if I'm wrong, did I mishear? I thought he was saying the bill said a teacher does not have to disclose if they are transgender to their students. Whoa, that is wild. If my child...
does not tell a parent
Jesus,
that their kid is transitioning. Of course I do. Even though that is the more radical extremist interpretation of this bill. So it's just one example of how he reacts to anything to do with California. It's also very good for anyone who might be dialoguing with Gavin in the future, anyone that might be debating against him in the future. When it comes to California, not only do you need to know your stuff, you have to be willing to get into the trenches, because he'll just try to bring you down right into the gutter on the issue. Muddy it up, get into the weeds. It's a very effective debate tactic. Is it rooted in truth? Of course not. Play cut 194.
You signed a law where school districts can't even tell parents if their kids are trans.
Not true.
Okay,
Factually untrue.
Okay, then.
No, they can. They just can't get fired for not doing that. And it wasn't just trans.
Fired for not.
The law was explicit, said you can't be fired for not snitching on a kid, not just for being trans, for being gay.
Snitching?
And my point is, how in the hell
but shouldn't the parents know?
They have every...
Snitching? Snitching. A teacher going to a parent and say, hey, I just want you to know your child has decided to transition is snitching. Take me to the king. My little Southern Baptist gospel heart cannot take this. This man said snitching.
Gay.
My child's business is every right of my business. You're not snitching on my child. You are coming to their parent and telling them about their well-being, their health. Their health? You're snitching?
My point is, how in the hell
But
are you
shouldn't the
telling
parents know?
They have every.
Wait, is
by the
telling
way,
parents snitching?
no.
Snitching.
The
Snitching.
teachers themselves have the right. The law is they can do that. They can do that. We're not saying you can't do that. We're saying you shouldn't be fired if you choose not to say Johnny was talking about liking some other boy or something.
That's a charitable reading. The other
it's
way
not charitable. It's actually the freedom not to.
Let me tell you
snitch.
the other way to say this: that a teacher, of course,
Is
should
he serious
be fired
about anything?
if you don't notify a parent of what's happening to their kid.
But
Of
I mean,
course, they should be terminated for that.
If
Whose
on
parent-
health and safety,
whose
shouldn't they
kid
be
is it,
teaching?
though?
I want these kids to teach. I want these teachers to teach. And by the way, if they
course,
feel
but-
like the health or safety of the kid, they have a responsibility to communicate. They still can. By the
That's
way,
the health
we're not
and
telling these
safety,
teachers
them
they can't.
transitioning.
We're saying they won't be fired if they don't look around and say in the recess there were two boys. Why didn't you see that? You're fired. You should have said something
hold on.
because they're
You're
talking
about two different
about-
things. But there, of course, should be a penalty measure, whether it be termination or whatever, if a teacher withholds information from a parent. Because what you're saying is that there's no way to hold them accountable. So you're saying you're
Accountable to what, though?
The
Accountable
parents, hold
to
on.
two kids
To
talking
parents,
about the fact that
this is a-
they're talking about subject matter. All of a sudden now we have to have teachers policing
I think
speech or
I
conversations
think you
that
would
kids
even
are
agree,
having.
Governor. That is an over extreme example. What we're talking about.
No, but the extreme example. This was a solution in
what we're
search of a
talking
problem.
about is which happens a lot, unfortunately, is if a young girl says that, hey, I want to transition, and the teacher accommodates and affirms it, and the parent doesn't even know. I have met parents like that in the
I heard
state.
Trump, and then they come back and they're a boy
again,
or something. There's so much extreme.
But
rhetoric
I
in
will
this
say,
space.
and we don't have to, we don't have to wrestle too much on this topic.
No.
But you guys will lose on these topics, and you might
it's-
disagree.
But
But,
again, I'm one of those guys, and Charlie, I appreciate, and I by the way appreciate the civility which we're engaged in this conversation sincerely. I don't mind losing. Sometimes you lose on principle. It's one of those things. Everything's not political. Is the point. And sometimes the principle. And by the way, mad respect for you on abortion and
I
same-sex
hold
marriage. You
views
feel
where
the
the
same
American
way.
people don't agree with me.
Exactly. But I admire that on principle. But for me, it's not just political. And I appreciate you making that point. I deeply am mindful of the politics of this, which are very unhelpful.
Okay, I just
personally, it's unhelpful. More broadly, professionally, the Democratic Party and our brand. And one of the reasons, to your point,
Our
the
brand.
Democratic Party brand has just been crushed.
And so as your self-awareness is helpful to know, because it is deeply unpopular.
Yeah.
And I think that is an ascendant political force
Right.
that is not going away.
No, I appreciate it, but I also appreciate you hold deeply unpopular beliefs.
Of
as
course
well.
I do, but
Yeah. But you're not running for office.
I'm not going
Are
to
you
run for
not running
president
office?
as a moderate.
Y'all know how much I can't stand that. It's like, oh, I appreciate it, but you also did it. It's like, if your only line of defense is to like call out someone else's flaw, baby, it's flawed. Baby, it's flawed. If you're only like, and this happens to me all the time in the comments, I'll be talking about like, for example, I'm talking about this one interview right here. I'm not talking about the interview from yesterday, today at 5 o'clock. I'm talking about the one right now at well, it does happen to be 5:41, but y'all get what I'm saying, right? And if your only defense is to say, well, but so and so, it's like, no, stay on topic. We're right here, right here. I'm not talking about another interview with Gavin. I'm talking about the interview with Charlie and Gavin. Like, stay right here. Sometimes I think it feels like that is the only argument, is like, if I'm talking about Trump, y'all, let me not say that. Some people will want to talk about Obama or Biden. It's like, wait, but we're talking about Trump because this is the video I'm reacting to, or this is the subject. And it's like, no. But in order to defend Trump, we got to bring up Biden and Obama, or vice versa. Like, if I'm talking about Obama and it's like, yeah, but Trump does this, it's like, but we're not talking about Trump right now. And that's what he just did. And it's just like, he is slippery. Like, you can't pick him up. He gonna fall right. He just slither away. Oily. Ugh.
The facts are this. It's very simple. A California public school teacher is not required to inform parents if their child is transitioning.
Wow.
In July 2024, Governor
Wow.
Newsom signed Assembly Bill 1955,
medical-
also known as the Support Academic Future and Educators for Today's Youth Act. The legislation prohibits school districts from enacting or enforcing policies that require teachers or other school staff to notify parents about a student's gender identity, sexual orientation, or gender expression. So he's taking an...
And I also just want to go out and say this, like, what Gavin is talking about right now, they're not even trying to stop these kids from transitioning or saying, like, they're not even tackling that issue. They're simply saying the parents have the right to know. Why would that not be grounds to fire someone? Because again, like I said, my child goes to school and bumps her head. Not only do they send a letter home, the nurse calls me immediately. That's a liability. That is a medical liability. My child bumps her head at school. I'm not informed. And then she comes home. She actually has a concussion, and worst case scenario, slips into a coma, but the school didn't notify me. Lawsuit. Medical. A child transitioning is a medical issue. That is... And the teacher's not fired because she didn't notify the parents? He didn't notify the parents? Y'all are tripping. Y'all are out here tripping. No one is saying your child can't transition. No one is saying you can't allow your child. Like, that's a whole nother argument. We're not saying that in this video. That's a whole nother argument. The argument here is we don't want our children looking at rhymes with corn, and we don't want our children to be able to make a private family medical decision with their teacher and their teacher not inform me. Hello? That's wild. And the way he did kind of, like, did you agree with Charlie or not? Because I'm confused. It's like he doesn't actually have a stance. He just does what he feels is popular, because that's what it feels like. He just wants to be popular. He wants the brand to look good. That's what it feels like. And I am not in the state where he governs over me. So I don't know. I don't listen to him talk on a regular basis. But like, it's definitely what it feels like in this 22-minute video. Definitely.
Incredibly extreme interpretation of, and it goes back down to the core. Whose kids is it? So it doesn't block them from telling, obviously, but it enables teachers who are trying to secretly transition kids while the parents are clueless. Let me say that again. It enables and protects teachers who are secretly trying to transition kids while parents are clueless.
In America.
I thought I did okay. I thought we probably went to a draw there, but anything on California, it's very, very...
I mean, this is literally the same thing as a teacher secretly giving your daughter birth control and you not knowing. This is the same thing as a teacher giving your son contraceptives and you not knowing. Are we not aligned on this? Are we not?
Trying to transition kids while parents are clueless. I thought I did okay. I thought we probably went to a draw there, but anything on California, it's very, very difficult to make any progress with him. Very difficult. With the stock market at record highs, are you prepared for the next downturn? Corrections can be unforgiving.
Came in hot.
Smart investors know diversification is the key to financial security. Noble Gold Investments make it easy to diversify with gold. With over $2 billion in sales, Noble Gold has helped thousands of Americans add gold to their
I don't know what. There we go.
portfolios.
That was popping up.
Open a qualified account today and receive 2 5-ounce silver America the Beautiful coins as a thank you. NobleGoldInvestments.com. Don't let the next correction catch you off guard. NobleGoldInvestments.com.
Did you know? I had no
Let's
idea.
go to more. There's so much here. The one I want to get into is Prop 16. So Prop 16 is one of the most radical things that has ever been proposed in the history of the state of California. He was not prepared to be able to defend this, and he tried to weasel out of it, saying, oh, I don't know the details of it. This would have made racial discrimination legal in the state of California, and the voters of California overwhelmingly rejected it. He knew I got him on finally a California detail in 2020. I got him on one California detail.
Googling
He was
this.
not prepared for Prop 16. Kudos to Blake for pulling this one out. And it wasn't like a small thing. This was a major racial reckoning ballot referendum in the middle of 2020 that he endorsed. If you want to...
Proposition 16 was a failed California ballot proposition that appeared on the November 3rd, 2020 general election ballot, asking California voters to amend the Constitution of California to repeal Proposition 209. The ballot text allowed diversity as a factor in public employment, education, and contracting decisions. Legislative constitutional amendment permits government decision-making policies to consider race, sex, color, ethnicity, or national origin to address diversity. Oh, child, it's DEI. Whoa. I mean, it's DEI. It's DEI. And, you know, that definitely wasn't going to fly with the Republicans. But to say like racial diversity is like, and these are one of those things that's like, you could present it to be a super positive until someone is negatively affected by it, and then all hell breaks loose, right? Like,
racial reckoning ballot referendum in the middle of 2020 that he endorsed. If you want to see kind of what he believes and why he believes it,
I don't think he believes anything.
Prepared
I
for this
don't
one.
believe
he was,
this
of
man
course,
believes
prepared for
anything.
wildfires, and he was prepared for homelessness. He's got all his little talking points for that. Prop 16, whoop, a little bit off edge there. Play cut 187.
By the way, you're talking to someone who's never supported the defund police movement.
I know, but
I was explicit.
But
also,
hold on one sec. You did support Prop 16 in 2020, which would have legalized racial prejudice, right? Prop 16 literally would, and it
I have to go back to my Prop 13.
You know it. You're smart.
No.
Prop 16.
I taught 960 SAT, so a little humility.
Hold on, no, you're the governor of the largest state in the
country.
country. No. I saw your debate against DeSantis. You're good at this stuff. You know what I'm talking about. Prop 16 would have had legalized racial prejudice, which would, and it got defeated by 16 points despite all the institutions. So you're asking me, what did wokeism look like? When California, when all the institutions, yourself included, with all due respect, embraced this insane ballot measure.
I don't even believe he's listening. When someone's like, right, yes, while you're talking, it's like they're just waiting for their chance to talk. Do y'all agree with that?
Institutions, yourself included, with all due respect, embraced this insane ballot measure. Guess what? Even the people of California didn't want racial discrimination.
Remember, California since 1996 has had Prop 209s. Okay.
There was, city council meetings where they said the white people aren't allowed here, right?
And that's not good.
No, it's not good.
Stuff, yeah.
And so what ends up happening is a broader question of sensible, not racist suburban moms that are like, wait a second. I have a 8-year-old white son. Are you trying to say he's a racist?
Yeah.
And it creates a backlash
totally get it.
that then bubbles up, right?
I appreciate that perspective.
How can you appreciate something the man he hasn't even finished making his point yet? Okay.
Yeah, he knows what Prop 16 is, for the record. He knows exactly what it is. I got to go look at my notes. Okay. Xi Jinping, this one really, of all the ones where I got a little bit ticked, I don't think it showed too bad on camera. But where they were able to clean up the streets when Xi Jinping arrived, and he's like, "Oh, you guys weaponized this one. You guys weaponized this one." Which one is this? Which cut is this? I'm trying to see which one that would be. I don't know if I see it here. Then I guess we'll go to a different one. Let's go to this one here. 179. More fun.
You're talking about your whining and dining at French Laundry.
Yes, I was talking about the importance of never. I can't help you with a reservation.
I get such a kick out of this whole shtick. I got to be honest. So
Jesus, very nice. By the way, we couldn't have this conversation with that conversation. Dumbest bonehead move of my life. Okay, own it, move on, grow up. And I'm trying to.
Is that you talking to yourself?
That's me talking to myself.
Okay. I'm
looking right at you in the eyes as I say that, just to get your reaction.
Here's the Xi Jinping clip. The French Laundry one we can go on at length. 183.
Why is it you were able to clean it up for Xi Jinping, but you
that
can't
was
clean
you
it up?
guys. That was the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my life. By the way, you guys weaponized that. I saw that on 25 things.
Okay, so we're talking about Xi Jinping coming to town, and they were able to clean up the streets, with all the homelessness, but they can't do it that quickly or substantially ever.
That was the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my life. By the way, you guys weaponized that. I saw that on 25 things. It was the most ridiculous. That was, you know what? I will happily happily revert back to your
Can I have the streets
counterpoint,
as clean as
weaponized,
Xi Jinping?
in this case, weaponized.
Can I
in
get
this
the,
case,
can I,
weaponized.
Can I get the Xi
It
Jinping
was
streets
ridiculous.
back?
Give me a break.
No, but Governor,
Give me a break.
with all due respect, I saw a
that was
beautiful
absurd.
picture of San Francisco that
Yeah.
looked like Singapore.
By the way,
and then Xi
it looked
like
Jinping
Singapore.
leaves and the Walking Dead come back.
By the way, it was
I-
APAC. You had dozens and dozens of foreign leaders. And California is not San Francisco, but I am the governor of California, not the mayor of California, I'm not the mayor of San Francisco.
You were the mayor, but I just want to understand,
No, I
why
was the
is it
mayor
that we have to
back
clean it up?
20 years ago.
But you have to admit, it's emblematic of something that if enough important people show up, it can get clean. So why not make it clean all the time?
That one I was proud of. Which is
Okay.
exactly right. If
What was
enough
his answer?
important people show up, San Francisco can be clean. Homelessness is a choice. It's not weaponized. We're not trying to go after marginalized communities, all these talking points. No. Weaponized, like when a homeless bum weaponizes a baseball bat to rob someone's car in San Francisco. I
Yeah,
like
San
that tape
Francisco
that we
is a
just played.
mess.
Ryan and Andrew, we should tweet that one next. I thought that was a good
mess.
one. I thought that was a good one. And it ended nicely. I thought that was good. If
nicely.
enough important people show up to San Francisco, you can have clean streets, but you can't have clean streets
On a
if
day-to-day basis.
communist dictators don't show up. To listen to the entire conversation of Gavin Newsom and I, we will continue to post it here. He has it on his podcast page as well. I will say everything they said they were going to do, they fulfilled. They didn't edit any of it. They gave us the video
Nice.
footage. So
Nice.
thank you to them and their team to do that. They were honest brokers. So that deserves recognition. So this is kind of how it all started.
Oh, it like looped itself. Okay, here's how I'm gonna end this. Say what you will about Charlie Kirk. Say what you will about Gavin Newsom. I found myself on a side I don't know if I expected to be on that side or not, but I just didn't expect to not like Governor Newsom by the end of this. I think it was a great conversation of respect, and I love that Charlie continued to call him governor. I think that shows a sign of respect. It got, there's something a little like scammer about him, but I could be wrong. Let me know your thoughts. As always, keep it cute or put it on mute. If you can't leave your comment in a kind tone, please don't leave it. All right, go and have the day you deserve. Bye.